Tale of the Manticore, bonus material, reflections on Season 2. Chartoon's breath. It's been 4 years of solo gaming, and though I can hardly believe it, Season 2 is over. I remember feeling melancholy when Season 1 ended, and this is, well, it's the same. I've had Yellowfly and his team living rent-free in my head for 2 years, and their absence has left me feeling a little hollow. On the bright side, there'll be some new tenants soon enough, because I've decided that there will be a Season 3. Before I talk about that, I figured I'd do a little review cap of this past season. The past 2 years held a lot of firsts for me. I went to my first ever cons, to which I was honored to be invited as a guest. Thanks so much to the Dungeon Minister for having me at ClearCon 2023, and to the Canadian Podcast Awards for inviting me to Comic Con 2024. I had a great time at both, and I'm looking forward to more cons next year. Another significant event was the podcast hitting the 500,000 download mark. That number has grown significantly since then, and now I have my eye on 1 million. I enjoyed similar growth with the products I have on DriveThruRPG. One Shot in the Dark went gold, and is not far from going platinum. It also inspired a few sister products that I'm sure you'll hear me talking about in the near future. My world-building tool, Pendulum, achieved the Electrum badge, and is not too far from going gold. As for Encyclopedia Manticorica, I'll be preparing the free Season 2 update for that PDF in August. Thank you so much for making these products successful. It was also during Season 2 that I noticed a community of semi-actual plays beginning to form, and this was a real joy to see. Now, in addition to the Iron Realm and Tales of Mystara, I can also enjoy Legend of the Bones, Echoes of Eschaton, Legends from the Fireside, Stories from the First Watch, and the new Swords Against Madness. And I suspect there will be more yet in the near future. In a sense, the birth of this new semi-actual play community is the best thing that's happened in my little podcast world in the last 2 years. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you are listening to this and you've thought about making your own, you should absolutely do it. There is so much room here for fresh and new ideas and approaches, and the community is very supportive and enthusiastic. All you really need are a mic and some dice. Reach out to me or any of the other great creators I mentioned if you need a hand getting started. Finally, in my personal life, I took early retirement from my job as a high school English and history teacher. That alone has made an enormous difference in my life and in Tale of the Manticore's workflow. Sometimes I miss the classroom. Oddly, I still don't miss the marking. I think that mostly covers the looking back part. Let me transition into some plans for the future by pointing out some of the mistakes I made in Season 2 and what I can do to improve the show. The most egregious mistakes I made in Season 2 were errors in bookkeeping. The worst part about this is that they were stupid and totally avoidable, so I need to be more vigilant with that aspect. There were also a couple of problems with technical issues where certain episodes disappeared or replaced their Season 1 counterparts. At first, I thought these were random glitches, but I eventually learned what caused them, and so going forward I think that we'll see that particular issue has been solved. Finally, I made a couple of continuity errors that I really couldn't fix in story, but these are all fairly minor. So I think I'll post something on the blog about that in the near future, rather than itemizing them here. So that brings us to Season 3. What will it look like? Well, I want to make a few changes and take some risks without throwing the baby out along with the bathwater. Plot-wise, I have no idea what the story will look like. I do have some stylistic inclinations, however. In Season 2, I wanted to explore an urban setting with mostly human characters. Now I find myself inclined towards a wilderness sandbox hex crawl, using at least some non-human player characters. I'll also put aside the bleak horror aspects I explored in Season 2 and try something with a bit more beauty and wonder, at least to start. Despite these changes, all core elements will remain the same. I still think homebrewed BX works as an engine. Episode length and current story parts, like narration, DM talk, between the lines, dramatis personae, and combat, will all remain unchanged. Ascending armor class and Season 2 level advancement rate I think were both improvements over Season 1, so those will not change either. I'm also going to permanently add my favorite element from Tana Pigeon's Mythic GM emulator, the Event Meanings Table, to my methodology. I won't be using them quite as intended, but more on that in Season 3. Once again, the story for Season 3 will be a fresh start, an easy on-ramp for new listeners. This time, I'm going to begin 1 year after the final events of Season 2. I'm moving the action to a new, and currently blank, spot on the map, Zacia's unsettled eastern borders. Because there's no human civilization in this part of Marith, I won't be using the Pendulum world-building tool in advance of the new season. I might end up doing that sometime in the future, but only if the story makes it appropriate. I'm taking a little inter-season break this time around, but I'll keep putting out content to bridge the gap. Actually, I have a couple of pretty cool things in store that I think you might like. In particular, I've been making a 4-episode miniseries with my good friend Steve Morrison of Errant Adventures, where we take a crack at semi-actual play with 2 players and no GM. Another inter-season item is my intended switch from Podbean to iHeartRadio. iHeart approached me with an offer and I accepted, thinking it might be time to trade my usual cross-promotional ads for paid ads. More than anything, I'm hoping this move will improve my workflow, as finding and setting up ad-swapping partners can take a lot of time and even bottleneck production on occasion. This move should also solve the problem of sometimes having an inconsistent number of ads. Some episodes tend to be very ad-heavy and others are light. With all this said, I'm going to strictly monitor the number of ads and kind of ads that appear on the show. I've even paid my current provider, Podbean, for a full year of hosting just as a backup, in case the new direction is not a change for the better. Ideally, all these things will happen behind the scenes, and as a listener, you won't notice too much at all. Before I sign off, a word of appreciation. To all of the voice actors I've had a pleasure working with, to the folks who purchased my products on DriveThruRPG, and to everyone who's given the show a rating or review, or simply told a friend, thank you very much. Tale of the Manticore is a joy to make. It's so satisfying to watch it grow, and I have all of you to thank for that. When Season 3 Episode 1 does launch, in October, I'm hoping, I hope you'll come back and join me as I try to recapture the wonder, nostalgia, and chaos from the game we all love. Until the Season 3 premiere, let chaos roll.
Reload your 3-bladed sword. Get comfortable in your studded leather kirtle or your chainmail bikini. Fire up the wizard band. It's about to get weird. Swords Against Madness is a hybrid storytelling and solo OSR role-playing game experience where I take you through a world of pulpy, weird fiction and gonzo OSR role-playing game goodness. As my player characters deal with telepathic squid, crashed spaceships, deranged Cthulhu cultists, immortal space barbarians, and priests worshipping ancient robots. And that's just in the first 2 episodes. Come and party like it's 1974 with Swords Against Madness. Available anywhere where you can download your finest podcasts.